A poor boy and a billionaire businessman. Their worlds were different. Their lives were far apart. But one simple act of honesty brought them together in a way no one expected. When a struggling street boy returned a billionaire's lost wallet, what happened next shocked the entire city. Sit back, relax, and find out as we delve into this emotional story. In the heart of Lagos, there lived a young boy named Samuel. He was only 14 years old, but life had already taught him lessons that most adults never learn. Samuel had no parents. They died in a fire when he was just 7. Since then, he lived on the streets, sleeping under bridges, eating from trash bins, begging for coins. His clothes were torn and dirty. His feet were bare and cracked, but his eyes still carried hope. Every morning, Samuel woke up before sunrise. He would walk to the market and help traders carry their goods. Sometimes they gave him 20 naira. Sometimes they gave him nothing. Sometimes they shouted at him to go away. But Samuel never complained. He smiled. He thanked them. He kept moving forward. One particular morning, the sun was already hot, and the streets were crowded. Cars honked loudly. People rushed past each other. Samuel stood at the corner of a busy junction, watching the world move. He was hungry. His stomach made small sounds. He had not eaten since yesterday afternoon. He whispered to himself, maybe today will be better. Maybe someone will help. Just then, a shiny black car pulled up near the traffic light. The door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, dressed in an expensive suit, his shoes polished and gleaming. His name was Mr. Richard Okonkwo. People called him a billionaire. He owned hotels, companies, and buildings across the city. Mr. Richard was on his phone, speaking quickly, his voice firm. Yes, I need those documents by noon. No excuses. He adjusted his tie and walked briskly toward a nearby building. But in his hurry, something fell from his pocket, a black leather wallet. It dropped silently onto the pavement. No one noticed, except Samuel. Samuel's eyes locked on the wallet. His heart began to beat fast. He looked left. He looked right. People walked past without seeing it. Cars kept moving. Samuel stepped forward slowly. He bent down and picked it up. The leather felt smooth and heavy in his hands. He opened it carefully. His breath caught in his throat. Inside were bundles of cash, naira notes, thick and new. There were also credit cards, a driver's license, and a business card with the name Richard Okonkwo, CEO, Okonkwo Enterprises. Samuel's hands trembled. He had never held so much money in his life. His mind began to race. With this money, I can eat for weeks. I can buy new clothes. I can find a place to sleep. He looked around again. No one was watching. No one knew. He could just walk away. But then, something inside him whispered. Something his mother once told him before she died. Samuel, no matter how hungry you are, never take what does not belong to you. Honesty is the only treasure that no one can steal from you. Samuel closed his eyes. He took a deep breath. Then he looked at the business card again. He looked at the tall building where the man had entered, and he made a decision. He ran. Samuel ran toward the building, clutching the wallet tightly. When he reached the entrance, a security guard stopped him. Hey, where do you think you're going? The guard barked. Samuel was breathing hard. Please, sir, I found a wallet. It belongs to Mr. Richard. I need to return it. The guard looked him up and down, his face filled with disgust. You, a street rat. You expect me to believe you found a wallet and you're returning it. He laughed harshly. Get out of here before I call the police. Please, sir, Samuel begged. I'm telling the truth. Look, here's the wallet. It has his name inside. The guard snatched the wallet from Samuel's hand and opened it. His eyes widened when he saw the cash and cards. He looked at Samuel with suspicion. Wait here, he said coldly. The guard walked inside the building. Samuel stood outside, his heart pounding. He did not know what would happen next. Minutes passed. People walking by stared at him. Some whispered. Some shook their heads. Then the door opened. The guard came out, and behind him was Mr. Richard. Mr. Richard's face was tense. He looked at Samuel, then at the wallet in the guard's hand. Is this the boy? Richard asked. Yes, sir, the guard replied. He claims he found your wallet on the street. Richard took the wallet and checked it carefully. Everything was still inside. The money, the cards, everything. He looked at Samuel again, this time more closely. You found this? Richard asked, his voice calm but firm. Yes, sir, Samuel said quietly. It fell from your pocket near the traffic light. I saw it and I brought it back. Richard studied him for a long moment. His eyes softened just a little. And you didn't take anything? Samuel shook his head. No, sir, it's not mine. There was silence. The guard looked shocked. Even Mr. Richard seemed surprised. Then, slowly, Richard reached into the wallet and pulled out a few notes. He handed them to Samuel. Here, take this. It's a reward for your honesty. Samuel looked at the money. It was more than he had seen in months, but instead of grabbing it, he stepped back. No, thank you, sir, Samuel said softly. I didn't return it for a reward. I returned it because it's the right thing to do. Richard froze. His hand hung in the air, still holding the money. He stared at Samuel, his face unreadable. Then, something changed in his eyes, something deep. He put the money back into his wallet slowly. What is your name? He asked. Samuel, sir. Samuel, Richard repeated. He paused, then spoke again. Where do you live? Samuel lowered his eyes. I live on the streets, sir. I have no home. Richard's jaw tightened. He looked at the guard, then back at Samuel. Wait here, he said. Then he turned and walked back into the building. Samuel stood there, confused. The guard looked at him strangely, but said nothing. After a few minutes, Mr. Richard came back out. This time, his face was calm, and his voice was gentle. Samuel, I want you to come with me. Samuel blinked. Sir, I want to take you somewhere. Richard said, Will you trust me? Samuel did not know what to say, but something in Mr. Richard's voice felt safe, so he nodded. Yes, sir. They walked to the car together. The driver opened the door, and Samuel climbed inside carefully. The seats were soft. The air was cool. Samuel had never been inside a car like this before. As they drove, Mr. Richard sat quietly beside him. He did not speak for a long time. He just looked out the window, thinking. Finally, he turned to Samuel. Do you know why I was angry when I realized I lost my wallet? Richard asked. Samuel shook his head. Because in this city, everyone lies, Richard said. Everyone cheats. Everyone takes what they can get. I thought I had lost everything in that wallet. But you, a boy with nothing, gave it back without asking for anything. His voice became softer. You reminded me that there are still good people in this world. Samuel did not know what to say. He just listened. The car stopped in front of a large house. It had tall gates, green lawns, and flowers everywhere. Samuel's eyes widened. Come, Richard said. They walked inside. The house was beautiful. Clean floors, soft couches, paintings on the walls. A woman came out from the hallway. She had kind eyes and a warm smile. Richard, you're home early, she said. Then she noticed Samuel. Her face became curious. Who is this? This is Samuel, Richard said. He returned my wallet today. He's the most honest person I've met in years. The woman smiled gently. Hello, Samuel. My name is Grace. Welcome to our home. She knelt down so she could look into his eyes. Are you hungry? Samuel nodded shyly. Yes, Ma. Grace stood up and took his hand. Come, let's get you something to eat. She led him to the kitchen and prepared a plate of rice, chicken, and vegetables. Samuel ate slowly, his hands shaking a little. He had not eaten a meal like this in so long. Mr. Richard and Grace watched him quietly. When he finished, Grace brought him water. Then she sat beside him. Samuel, she said softly, you are very brave and very honest. That is rare. Samuel looked down. My mother taught me, Ma, before she died. Grace's eyes filled with emotion. She looked at Richard. He nodded. Then Richard spoke. Samuel, I want to ask you something important. Samuel looked up. Yes, sir. How would you like to live here? Richard asked. With us, in this house. Samuel's mouth opened, but no words came out. He thought he had misheard. You want me to live here? He whispered. Yes, Richard said. I want to give you a home. I want to send you to school. I want to give you a chance to become something great." Tears filled Samuel's eyes. He covered his face with his hands. His shoulders shook as he cried. Grace moved closer and gently placed her hand on his back. "It's okay," she whispered. "You're safe now." Samuel wiped his tears and looked at them both. "Thank you," he said, his voice cracking. "Thank you so much." And for the first time in 7 years, Samuel felt something he thought he had lost forever. He felt like he belonged. Weeks passed. Samuel settled into his new life. At first, everything felt strange. The soft bed, the clean clothes, the warm meals. He would wake up in the middle of the night thinking it was all a dream. But it wasn't. Mr. Richard enrolled Samuel in one of the best schools in Lagos. On his first day, Samuel wore a new uniform. His shoes were polished. His hair was neat. Grace packed his lunch herself and kissed his forehead before he left. "Go and make us proud," she said with a smile. At school, Samuel worked harder than anyone. He studied late into the night. He asked questions. He listened carefully. The teachers noticed. They were impressed. One teacher, Mrs. Adayemi, called him aside one day. "Samuel, you are one of the brightest students I've ever taught," she said. "Keep going. You have a gift." Samuel's heart swelled. He remembered the streets. He remembered the hunger. And he promised himself he would never take this opportunity for granted. At home, Mr. Richard and Grace treated him like their own son. They had no children of their own. And Samuel filled a space in their hearts they didn't know was empty. One evening, while they sat together in the living room, Richard spoke. "Samuel, do you remember the day you returned my wallet?" Samuel nodded. "Yes, sir. I remember everything." Richard smiled. "That day, I had just come from a meeting where someone stole money from my company. I was angry. I was hurt. I thought everyone in this world was corrupt." He paused. "But then you, a boy who had every reason to keep that wallet, gave it back. You restored my faith." Grace added softly, "You didn't just return money, Samuel. You returned hope." Samuel's eyes became wet. He looked down at his hands. "I just did what my mother taught me," he said quietly. Richard leaned forward. "Your mother raised you well, and we will continue what she started." Years passed. Samuel grew into a young man. He finished secondary school at the top of his class. When the results were announced, the entire household celebrated. Grace baked a cake. Richard invited friends and family. Samuel stood in the middle of the room, overwhelmed by love. "I want to say something," Samuel said, his voice steady but emotional. Everyone became quiet. "When I was on the streets, I thought my life was over. I thought I would die hungry and forgotten." His voice cracked a little. "But because of one decision, because I chose to be honest, my entire life changed." He looked at Richard and Grace. "You didn't just give me a home. You gave me a future. You gave me love. You gave me a family." Tears rolled down Grace's cheeks. Richard stood and walked over to Samuel. He placed both hands on his shoulders. "You earned it, son," Richard said. "Every single bit of it." The room erupted in applause. Later that year, Mr. Richard took Samuel to his office, the tall building where it all began. They walked through the lobby together. Employees greeted them. Some remembered Samuel from years ago and smiled. They took the elevator to the top floor. Richard's office was large, with glass walls overlooking the entire city. "Sit," Richard said, pointing to a chair. Samuel sat down, curious. Richard opened a drawer and pulled out a folder. He placed it on the desk in front of Samuel. "Open it," he said. Samuel opened the folder slowly. Inside were documents, legal papers, scholarship letters, admission letters. His hands trembled as he read. This is a full scholarship to study abroad," Richard said with a proud smile. "You've been accepted into one of the best universities in the world. All expenses paid." Samuel's eyes filled with tears again. He looked up at Richard, unable to speak. Richard continued, "You have worked hard, Samuel. You have earned this. Go and learn. Go and become great. Then come back and help others the way you were helped." Samuel stood up and hugged Richard tightly. "Thank you, Dad," he whispered. It was the first time he had called him that. Richard's arms wrapped around him, and his own tears finally fell. "You've made me proud, son," Richard said quietly. "So proud The news of Samuel's scholarship spread quickly. It became a story in the local newspapers. Street boy turned scholar, the power of one honest choice. People read it and were inspired. Some cried. Some shared the story with their children. Samuel gave an interview on the radio. The host asked him, "What would you say to young people who are struggling right now?" Samuel thought for a moment, then spoke clearly. "I would say, never compromise your values, no matter how hard life gets. Honesty, kindness, and integrity will open doors that money cannot. One good decision can change your entire life." When the interview ended, the phone lines were flooded with calls. People wanted to thank him. Some wanted to share their own stories. Samuel had become a symbol of hope. Before Samuel left for abroad, the community organized a send-off party. It was held in the same neighborhood where he used to beg for food. The streets were decorated. People came from all over. Old traders who once chased him away now hugged him and cried. "We are sorry, Samuel," one woman said. "We didn't see your worth. But you never gave up." Samuel smiled. "It's okay, Mama. I forgive you." Children gathered around him, asking questions, touching his clothes, laughing. Samuel knelt down and spoke to them. "Listen to me," he said gently. "No matter where you are right now, no matter how hard it is, never steal. Never lie. Be honest, even when no one is watching. Because God is always watching, and He will reward you." The children nodded, their eyes wide and full of wonder. As the sun began to set, Mr. Richard stood on a small platform and addressed the crowd. "Many of you know me as a businessman," he began. "But today, I stand here as a father who is proud of his son." He gestured toward Samuel. "This young man taught me something I had forgotten. That wealth is not measured by money. It is measured by character." Samuel had nothing, but he had everything that mattered. The crowd clapped loudly. Richard continued, "I urge all of you, teach your children to be like Samuel. Teach them honesty. Teach them kindness. Because these are the values that build nations." When he finished, the applause was deafening. Samuel stood and waved, his heart full of gratitude. On the day Samuel was to travel, Grace packed his bags carefully. She placed family photos inside. She wrote him a letter and tucked it between his clothes. At the airport, the three of them stood together. Grace held Samuel's face in her hands. "You will do great things," she said, her voice shaking. "But never forget where you came from." "I won't, Mom," Samuel promised. Richard shook his hand firmly, then pulled him into an embrace. "Go and conquer, son. We'll be waiting for you." Samuel walked toward the gate. Before he entered, he turned back one last time. He waved. They waved back, tears streaming down their faces. And as Samuel disappeared into the terminal, Richard whispered, "That boy changed my life." Grace nodded, squeezing his hand. "He changed all of us." Years passed. Samuel graduated with honors. He returned to Nigeria and started his own foundation, the Samuel Foundation, dedicated to helping street children. He built schools. He provided scholarships. He gave hope to those who had none. One day, a young girl came to his office. She was dirty, hungry, and afraid. "Please, sir," she said, "I need help." Samuel smiled gently and knelt beside her. "What's your name?" he asked. "Blessing, sir, Blessing," Samuel repeated. "That's a beautiful name." He stood and took her hand. "Come, let me show you something." He walked her to a wall in his office. On it was a framed newspaper article. The headline read, "Street Boy Returns Billionaire's Wallet." Blessing read it slowly, her eyes wide. Samuel spoke softly. "That was me, many years ago. I was just like you. But I made one honest choice, and it changed my life forever." Blessing looked up at him, hope flickering in her eyes. Samuel smiled. "And today, I'm going to help change yours." Samuel called his assistant. "Please prepare a room for Blessing. Get her clean clothes, food, and everything she needs." The assistant nodded and gently took Blessing's hand. As they walked away, Blessing turned back and whispered, "Thank you, sir." Samuel's heart warmed. He remembered that feeling, that moment when someone finally saw him, finally cared. He sat at his desk and looked at the photograph of Mr. Richard and Grace on the wall. They had both passed away 2 years ago, within months of each other. Their deaths had broken Samuel's heart, but their legacy lived on through him. He picked up his phone and opened his photo gallery. There were pictures of the schools he had built, children in uniforms, smiling, holding books. There were photos of graduation ceremonies, young people he had helped, now doctors, engineers, teachers. He scrolled further and stopped at one particular photo. It was taken on the day he returned from abroad. Mr. Richard and Grace stood beside him at the airport, their faces glowing with pride. Samuel's eyes became misty. "I'm keeping my promise, Dad," he whispered. "I'm helping others, just like you helped me." That evening, Samuel received a phone call. It was from the governor's office. "Mr. Samuel, the governor would like to meet with you," the voice said. Samuel was surprised. "The governor? Why?" "He wants to discuss your foundation and how the government can support your work," the voice replied. "He has been following your story for years." A week later, Samuel sat in the governor's office. The governor, a tall man with graying hair, stood and shook his hand warmly. "Samuel, I have heard so much about you," the governor said. "Your story is an inspiration to this entire state." "Thank you, sir," Samuel replied humbly. The governor sat down and leaned forward. "I want to partner with your foundation. We want to expand your schools across the state. We want to reach more children. But we need someone with your heart, your vision." Samuel's eyes widened. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," the governor smiled. "Together, we can change thousands of lives." Samuel thought of blessing. He thought of all the children still on the streets, hungry, hopeless, waiting for someone to see them. He nodded slowly. "Yes, sir, I will do it." Within months, the partnership began. New schools were built in remote areas. Street children were brought in, fed, clothed, and educated. The Samuel Foundation became a household name across Nigeria. News channels interviewed him. Magazines featured his story. International organizations reached out to collaborate. But despite all the fame and recognition, Samuel remained humble. He still visited the streets where he once slept. He still spoke to the children there, encouraging them, giving them hope. One Saturday morning, Samuel walked through the old market where he used to beg. Traders recognized him and called out, "Samuel, our son, you have made us proud." He smiled and greeted them warmly. As he walked, he noticed a young boy sitting alone by the roadside. The boy looked about 10 years old, his clothes torn, his face sad. Samuel stopped and sat beside him. "Hello," Samuel said gently. The boy looked up, startled. "Good morning, sir. What's your name?" Samuel asked. "David, sir." "David, why are you sitting here alone?" Samuel asked. David looked down. "I have nowhere to go, sir. My father died last year. My mother is sick. I'm trying to find work so I can help her." Samuel's heart ached. He saw himself in this boy. The same pain, the same struggle, the same determination. "David," Samuel said softly, "what if I told you that you don't have to struggle alone anymore?" David looked at him with confused eyes. "Sir," Samuel smiled, "come with me. I want to help you. I want to help your mother too." David's eyes filled with tears. "Sir, are you serious?" "Yes," Samuel said. "I am very serious." He stood and stretched out his hand. David took it slowly, his hands trembling. They walked together toward Samuel's car. As they drove, David stared out the window in silence, his mind racing. Samuel glanced at him and said, "David, I know you're scared. I know you don't understand why a stranger is helping you. But let me tell you something. Many years ago, I was just like you, and someone helped me. Now, it's my turn to help you." David turned to him, tears streaming down his face. "Thank you, sir. God bless you." Samuel took David to the hospital first. They found his mother in a small, crowded ward. She was weak, lying on a thin mattress. When she saw David, she tried to sit up. "David, where have you been?" "I was worried." David ran to her side. "Mama, this man, he says he wants to help us." The woman looked at Samuel with tired, suspicious eyes. "Sir, who are you?" Samuel stepped forward and spoke gently. "My name is Samuel. I run a foundation that helps families like yours. I want to take care of your medical bills. I want to make sure David goes to school. and I want to help you get back on your feet." The woman's lips trembled. "Sir, why? Why would you do this for us?" Samuel smiled softly. "Because someone once did it for me." He arranged for her to be transferred to a better hospital. He paid all her medical bills. Within 2 weeks, she began to recover. David was enrolled in one of the foundation schools. He was given new clothes, books, and a safe place to stay. Every evening, David would visit his mother in the hospital. He would tell her about his day, about his classes, about his new friends. And every evening, his mother would cry tears of gratitude. "God sent you to us, Samuel," she said one day. "You are an angel." Samuel shook his head. "I am not an angel. I am just someone who remembers what it feels like to be hopeless. And I never want anyone to feel that way if I can help it." Months later, David's mother was fully recovered. She was given a job at one of the foundation's offices. David excelled in school, just like Samuel once did. One day, during a foundation event, Samuel invited David to speak. David stood nervously in front of hundreds of people. He cleared his throat and began, "My name is David. A few months ago, I was on the street, hungry and afraid. I thought my life was over. But then, Mr. Samuel found me. He didn't just give me food. He gave me hope. He gave me a future." His voice grew stronger. "He taught me that no matter where you come from, you can become something great. He taught me that kindness is the most powerful thing in the world." The crowd erupted in applause. Samuel stood at the back of the room, tears in his eyes, smiling. After the event, a journalist approached Samuel. "Mr. Samuel, you have helped so many people. What drives you?" Samuel thought for a moment, then answered, "I remember the day I found that wallet. I remember holding it in my hands, knowing I could change my life by keeping it. But I also remembered my mother's words. I remembered what it meant to have integrity." He paused. "That one decision changed everything. And now, I want to teach others that same lesson. That honesty, kindness, and integrity will always lead you to blessings you cannot imagine." The journalist nodded, writing quickly, "You are truly an inspiration." Samuel smiled humbly. "I'm just a boy who made the right choice, and I want to help others make the right choices too in life. The smallest act of honesty can open the biggest doors." Samuel had nothing, but he had something money could never buy: integrity. And that integrity gave him everything. The story teaches us to never underestimate the power of doing what is right. You never know who is watching. You never know what blessings are waiting on the other side of one good decision. Honesty is powerful. It heals, it opens doors, it changes lives. So tell me, what did you learn from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments section. I would love to read from you. Another very interesting story will be uploaded in a few days. So subscribe to the channel and turn on your notification bell so you will be notified immediately. I upload the next story. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends so others can also learn from it. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you.